Hi, 9 to 5ers. Welcome back to another episode of 9 to 5 and everything in between. I'm your host, Elizabeth Ajadi, and today is the final episode of 2024. So excited that we were able to launch this podcast in this year and have some amazing conversations. To recap the year, we're going to be unpacking 2024 and talking about adulting in 2024 and some of the adulting decisions that was made in this year. With me in the studio today is Olukanni, and I'm so excited that she was able to join this final episode of the year because she's been very instrumental in getting this podcast off the ground. If you've been following the 9 to 5 Blueprints journey for about 4 years now, I've talked about Yemi, and she is the Yemi who is behind the scenes and helping to shape the story that we bring to you. She's literally holding the foundation with her bare hands. Welcome to the studio, Yemi.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I'm so excited to be here and to be doing this final episode. It feels like an in-house thing, like really. So I'm very excited.
Yes, so excited, so happy. So today, first things first, I want to do an introduction, Yemi, because obviously people may know you just by extension of the fact that I talk about you, but Yemi is a personality all on her own. She not just works for 9 to 5 as the brand manager, and in fact, I call her my pseudo COO because she keeps the operations going. And besides 9 to 5 blueprints and besides 9 to 5 and everything in between, she does a lot with marketing and communications and has done quite a lot with corporate partnerships, brand partnerships, and has been instrumental in actually bringing the 9 to 5 blueprints some brand partnerships. Especially in this new year, we've been able to partner with CheckLearn to do sessions on soft skills training with some students that are transitioning into tech and breaking into tech. She's a program manager who's managed at a program called CheckLearn with a company called Check in Nigeria that's instrumental in helping people break into the tech world. And so not just in organizing the technical trainings, but in organizing soft skills training that would enable these people to thrive in their careers. And I think it's her mission because I sometimes wonder why she signs up for these things because she goes above and beyond, has gone above and beyond, for 9 to 5 blueprint. She's just a very excellent communicator. And so a lot of things that you would see written for 9 to 5 blueprint probably has come from her. So Yemi, I know I've done the introduction, but I would like you to do a self-introduction as well.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. I think first I want to say that this is the longest standing client now on brand relationship that I have had so far. And I'd say that quite frankly, it's all thanks to you in terms of how this relationship has been built, molded, created, cemented. It's been an absolute pleasure working with Let's Buy Blueprints, and we've been able to kind of manage a very both professional, respectful, still personal. We talk, there's a friendship in there, and I think it's phenomenal. This relationship has been a lot of ways contributed to how I've been able to explore in my career, even find my way around in my career. To introduce myself, I'd say my name is Yemi. And I basically work in the media marketing and communication space. And I've been doing it for about 7, 8 years. I have worked quite a number of roles within the space, and it's been really interesting. I think I've been able to find a way to work my career into industries. I was explaining this to someone the other day, and I said, I think a very interesting way that I've been able to navigate my career within this industry is finding other industries outside of the industry I'm in and finding one that excites me and I'm really curious about. And then I look for what roles. And thankfully, because of how transformative my role is, almost any industry and almost any business needs a comms person or needs some kind of brand management. I'm able to find my way into that industry and to really learn about it. That's what I've been doing for the past 7, 8 years. And it's been quite fascinating. I've been in the leather manufacturing industry. I've been in business development. I've been in tech and, just going around learning about different industries and how they do business there and understanding their clients as well.
Great to hear. The first thing that I want to do is open this letter because we're unpacking 2024. And for the first time in a long time, I wrote a letter to myself at the beginning of the year. And the reason was because I saw somebody talk about it. A friend of mine talked about it last year. You know, it's a different thing if you just write a list of goals or make a vision board, but actually, it's like romanticizing your life, like, you know, new people say, like young people say these days. And it gave her a sense of fulfillment. And I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to try this. And so on January 1, I wrote a letter to myself because I wanted to see how far I could take certain things. And I pretty much wrote, Dear Ashabi, this is your letter to yourself written on 1/1/24. Read in December 2024. And when I was thinking about this episode, I knew I wanted to talk about adulting, but I specifically wanted to unpack this year from the lens of some of the adulting decisions that I've made. Now, knowing some of the things that I wrote to myself at that time, and, you know, we can discuss it, we can unpack it. I might have to redact some of the information, especially,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes, please.
this is a professional podcast and it's not for everybody's ears to know everything specifically that I wrote to myself. I'm going to read a little bit of it. I wrote it in sections just because my brain likes to organize things. And feel free to jump in. Feel free to tell me some of your thoughts. I also want to talk about some of the things that you set out to do for yourself as well. I said to Ashabi, because I like to call myself Ashabi, it's my Oriki. On this day, January 1st, 2024, at 10:30 p.m., I, Ashabi, am writing a letter to myself to be opened in December 2024. First of all, I am proud of you, baby girl. You're starting the year as Director of Legal Operations for Brookfield Multifamily, and you're going to knock it out of the park, just like you do everything else. I wish you all the best, and I know by the time you read it, your annual review would read exceeds expectations because you're that girl.
Yes, you are.
While we're on your professional path, I want you to focus on earning that PMP this year. It is crucial that you keep your eyes on that ball because you will need it in your career path. Good luck passing the PMP on the first try. Girl, no receipts over here. That is so funny because I probably only read 2 chapters of my PMP book this year. Work took over my life so greatly, but yeah, did not do that. So we're punting that till 2025. However, just to address that a little bit, you know, I want to talk about pivoting in the midst of adulting. And, you know, when we set these goals for ourselves, which obviously try to set a bar. And I set a bar to do my PMP this year. However, you know, in starting the new role in January, I did not anticipate all of the challenges that that role would bring. Obviously, it came with a lot of learnings. And I was trying to push myself. Little did I know that my company would push me even harder because not just was my role a new role, but my company was going through a big transition and lots of changes as well. And so I had to set down my personal interests, you know, obviously in favor of what my organization was going to focus on. And so I did not do it, but I definitely will be focusing on it next year. Do you have any thoughts?
I also did set out this year to take some professional course. I remember having that conversation with my parents because we each time we go home on holidays, like spend time with our parents, we also like to check in. My parents are very good on me, you know, taking another degree and furthering my education. And I told them in order to kind of calm them down, but also because I really wanted to, I'd also said, you know, I'll do something, maybe not a master's, but I'll do something. Like I'll take a professional course next year. But I was also starting a new role. I didn't envision what that would be, but I thought regardless, you know, we'll make it work out. I'm here to say that that way. Assuming was a lot harder than I thought. The roles, as you were saying it, I could relate 1000% because I'm like, yeah, you underestimate sometimes how much the year is going to bring, and then you know, comes and you're like, okay, I want to do all these things, but it really didn't work out. But at the end of the day, I'm sure like a lot of things in that letter were tick boxes.
We'll see. Secondly, let's talk about your spiritual life. By the time you read this letter, you should have developed a better personal relationship with God. I don't mean always asking daddy for something, but actually fellowshipping with your Father in heaven. Pray, fast, study the word regularly. I tried my best.
Okay.
So there were definitely months where I would study I got a new study Bible. I would get into it. Some nights I would journal. I even got a book that was centered around praying and building a purpose-driven life. I wasn't very consistent with it, but I definitely utilized it a great deal and journaled with it as well and prayed about things. I prayed about things. I would say I worshiped more this year. Because even looking at my Spotify Wrapped, I listened to Dunsin Oyekan for the most part this year and was just in praise worship mode for the most part. So rather than asking for something, I guess I praised more, which was what I was writing about instead of always going to God, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. So in that sense, I would say, yeah. The third one was focused on financial goals. I said, your emergency fund is already where you need it to be. Now focus on building your incidental savings account. Ensure that you have a revolving $5,000 minimum by the end of the year in your Capital One. We need to capitalize on that interest rate. That did not work out because this year I spent a lot more on my house than I anticipated. I had to get a new couch, which costs a lot of money. I had to get a brand new laptop for this podcast. I spent a ton getting the podcast off the ground. I knew I wanted to get the podcast off the ground. I thought I would just start recording with my phone, but with a lot of things, I like to do them well. And so I definitely invested a lot. I did save that much, but I also spent most of it.
I think it's A1, because you ended up investing in yourself. And this is like, and that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of like what you want to do eventually with your money. Like when you earn money, you want to be able to like pour it back into yourself and invest in what you want to do. This has been, I mean, it looks great. It's been sounding great.
Yeah. Yeah. The fourth one was about family and social life. I said, I should be a people person and a low-key people pleaser. You need to focus on relationships that yield good fruits. You did well cutting off those you should in 2023. Now keep the same energy in 2024. Develop those interpersonal relationships for your social life, but also focus your time and energy on building professional connections. We're now a member of Engage Cleveland Leadership Council, so take advantage of this network to build something for 9 to 5 Blueprint. Wow, I really went in on myself this year.
But hey, I mean, I feel like we kind of did. I mean, we did the radio interview this year. Let's think about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that came by way of
Ah,
my membership in Engage Cleveland, actually.
so you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
It definitely did pay off. I did cut off unnecessarily relationships. And on the social front, I developed more intentional relationships. This year, my girlfriends and I decided to spend more time getting to know each other and doing meaningful things together. So for the most part, on a monthly basis, we did something like we would do crafting day, we would do sleepovers that were meant to pour into each other and unpack things that each of us was going through, and they were meaningful, and we definitely appreciated it and found great meaning in them. And yeah, I would say it was a 10 out of 10 on that one. The fifth one was on health. I talked about you need to take care of your spirit, health, soul, and body. Exercise at least 4 days a week. Eat better by incorporating fruits, fiber, and protein in your diet. Use the home gym and get those gains.
My face already.
The target waist measurement is 29 inches. Wow.
You were very detailed.
Start therapy this year and unpack the burden on your heart. On that note, you should travel. You know, travel makes you so happy. Do as much travel as you can this year within reason and within budget.
I mean, we did travel.
Yes. I went to, what's it, 4 new countries this year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I did travel. So the second half of that goal worked out. I
Yeah.
think at the beginning of the year, I was able to make it to do a workout twice a week. 2 days a week. And then towards the end of the year or towards the middle of the year, my Saturdays just became very chaotic. And so I had to cut out hot yoga because Saturdays I needed a slow day instead of having to wake up early. Because once I woke up, I had to get going. And I used to go for the 9 a.m. class, which meant I had to be up at 8, which is not bad. But on a Saturday, I want to sleep in.
Yep.
And especially, after the long week. So I sacrificed that for the sake of rest
I think,
more so. So in a way, I did prioritize my body.
yeah, to be honest, I think fitness is usually the one that really kicks you when it comes to goals.
Yeah, like this is like a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like you want to do a lot, but life happens. This is also what
Life happens.
about. Yeah, life happens a lot.
Yep. Okay, so the sixth one is on professional goals. I know we hinted at it at the beginning, but beyond your day job, you need to develop yourself outside of Brookfield. Build the 9 to 5 blueprints, but also invest in building Elizabeth Ajadi, the brand, the voice, and the coach. The world needs your decisive voice. Work with Settlement to create that LLC. Talked about and build something exceptional outside of your day job. So I would say I think I was able to do both in different ways. With Elizabeth Ajadi, the coach, what would Elizabeth do gained so much traction this year, which paved way for the podcast to eventually start. And that was awesome for me to be able to do that indirectly. I was able to build other connections professionally within my role, but outside of my role as well. And I think that we were able to do more with the brand this year. Like, I mean, I got asked to do a radio interview talking about being a young professional in Cleveland. I got the opportunity through you with Check Learn to coach the students on the soft skills on navigating a new role in that first 90 days and transitioning as well. So I think this was a solid one. I did not create the LLC, but I will. C is intended to be the LLC for 9 to 5 and everything in between for the podcast, so that it can become a standalone entity. But right now, it's been umbrellaed under the 9 to 5 blueprint.
Yeah, and I'll say to a great extent about the brand. Yes, I think you were able to push for a lot to be done. And it a lot of boxes this year. I think we were very particular about this year, which I'm really,
Yeah,
really proud of. Got a lot of the things we wanted to do done. I remember when you came to Nigeria, we sat down and we had the list and we worked through what the things we wanted to do. And I'm glad that we take some of the things that we actually said that we wanted
yeah,
to do. Um,
yeah. Yeah, it's been a great year. So finally, I have a section for miscellaneous things. I talked about romance. I talked about personality issues I need to work on. On the romance front, it was more like sorting out relationship that I had going on that wasn't clear where it was going. I wrote that it should either be defined or dissolved by now. And I did address that midway through the year. So I knew I would not be able to last long because I don't know how to last long in things that I'm in limbo with. Second thing was on, I don't think I can share this one. This is a personality trait. So I'm going to redact this one. The third one was renovating my closet. Yes, I did it. It looks really good, or at least I did half of it. I created a brand new closet in my hallway, which has now made way for like a proper renovation, which it will be done in the first quarter. I talked about finishing the career coach certification that I started. I did not. I don't even think I touched it this year at all. So I'm going to definitely prioritize it in January. And the final was decluttering my house and throwing away anything that isn't adding value. If you still have clutter by the time you're reading this, you've not prioritized the right things. Harsh. And then I finalized it with, let's stop here because I can keep going. I wish you all the best, as I know you can achieve anything you set your mind on. I love you. God bless you exceedingly. So to talk about the decluttering, I definitely decluttered this house. This house felt shaking up. Mid-year, I had my cleaning lady come and she helped reorganize it. My house had become storage for a lot of things that were no longer necessary. So I did a lot of work, I want to say in May. And decluttered with my cleaning lady and we reorganized. Now I have a nicely organized store. And my guest room is no longer like storage. It's clean, it's clear of clutter. And I actually have a closet sale tomorrow, funny enough, that I created an Evite for. And literally half of my closet is going. Everything's all organized downstairs already with shoes all set out. So I have about 9, 10 people coming through. They're going to peruse the shelves, buy whatever they want, and at least I can get some money out of that. Overall, I would rate myself an 8 out of 10 because I think most of what I wrote down and set my mind to, I was able to do it. I made some adult decisions this year on the spiritual front, on the personal front, with friendships, with relationships, been very intentional about the people I let into my life and the people whose lives I was involved with. Enough about me. I want to talk about, adulting. From your point of view, we've unpacked 2024. And a lot of the things that I've just read in this letter, speak to adulting success and adulting failures or opportunities. And one of the questions that I was thinking about as I was talking about this was, I wanted to ask you from your point of view, because I know my point of view. In every adult decision that you make, success, failure, like, did you learn anything impactful? And what would you say was your biggest learning this year when it comes to adulting?
So, first of all, I think I want to kind of speak to you reading the letter. I think it's amazing. I'm taking a page out of your book this year and I'm going to write a letter to myself. And just saying this, I'm going to put this out there for everybody listening and watching. Ever since I started working with Elizabeth, I have taken as much page off a book as I have. And every single time that I have, it has brought me to where I am today. So if you're listening, if you're a first time listener, you're welcome. You have no idea how lucky you are to be here. Please listen and take the pages literally. All the comments you see on this, on anything, are all positive. And that's to say that if you take a page, you get something from it. So yes, I'm taking a page of your book this year and I'm also going to write a letter to myself. Because listening to you and seeing how very intentional you were, and also seeing that you were actually able to follow through even without opening the letter and haven't even looked at it, is actually quite amazing. And it's fulfilling. Like you're like, okay, like I am who I say I am. And so yes, I think
That
that was
girl.
awesome. Yes, you are. What I've learned. So I think adulting, I think we all agree that adulting in 2024 was a bit different. I don't know why, but like 2024 seems so, I don't know if it's just me, but like it seems so different from every other year.
Inflation was up maybe 10%. So there's that.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me, but it was really high. A lot of things, if you go to the market and compare pricing, times three. I know that because I buy things from Sam's Club and I compare receipts of like what I bought last year. I get digital receipts. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait.
Yeah.
What?
Exact same thing. Like literally exact same. The price is doubled. It's insane. And I think if you're living in Nigeria, we had ours times 40, I think. Don't quote me either, but
Yeah,
like times 40 or 50. And so
I would
it really
agree.
felt like, yeah, it really felt like, I mean, financially, economically, everybody was put through the ringer this year when it comes to adulting. Adulting really showed everybody, shaggy, as we say here. But I think other than that, it might have also, in a way, stylishly shown us resilience. I think a lot of us learned how to make it work regardless, and
Yeah.
find ways to grow even. So many things happened in industries this year. So many people grew. There were so many things that started despite the economy, despite inflation, despite everything. And I think it was a real huge symbol that humans are resilient. And
Yeah.
even if it gets tough, we will get going regardless. So I think that was one of the major things that I learned this year is you have to make it work. Like no matter how hard it keeps getting, you just get yourself and make sure that it works for you. I'd say on my end, that was one major thing that I learned this year and I saw like happened with adults this year. Yeah. So yeah, from my perspective, it was a lot of resilience and just sticking it out and, making it to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Mhm.
A lot of the things was just about, I'll get this done
Yeah.
any which way that I can, I'll do it.
Yes.
And, for me also, I think more specifically, it's not just about the resilience of it, it's the prioritizing
Mm,
what is
mm,
important
mm.
is by process of elimination. It's like, okay, this is not important right now. It's not a priority. We're putting
Yeah.
it down so that
Yeah.
I can laser focus on this, get this done, and be good with it. And so I think you said about my intentionality. I think I was forced into that. I had to be intentional about what I prioritized, what I gave my time to, what I put my resources towards. And honestly, the same is going to continue in 2025. I already started planning towards 2025. And there's just some things that I wish that I can do, but I will not be able to do it or be able to focus on it just because time uh, time does not permit me, or resources don't permit me. I just want to switch gears a little bit. Permit me
Okay.
because,
Yes.
we're
Yes.
talking
Yes.
about
Yes.
adulting. And I want to talk, I know in my letter, I obviously talked about adulting and relationships and, being very intentional about relationships. And
Yep.
in two podcasts ago, Power of People, we emphasize so much about people and relationships and how important it is. So give it a
Yeah.
listen if you haven't already. But I want to talk about dating and relationship in 2024. How, in your opinion, how has dating and relationship building, not just in like romantic relationships, but
Mm-hmm.
friendships, work
Mm-hmm.
relationships,
Mm-hmm.
how has that changed for you, and how did that change for you in 2024?
Yeah. Um. I think. I think we can all agree that the street this year was a very cold place. I think dating now, maybe not relationships, because relationship is wider. I think dating, unfortunately, I think dating might be deteriorating. I don't know what's going on, but it's not it. Things don't seem to be getting better. I don't think social media is helping. I think it's
Mhm.
making it worse, unfortunately. I think people are starting to prioritize a lot of different things when it comes to relationships and being in relationships, which understandably so. We're in a very heavy capitalist world, and everybody's really
Yeah,
just like looking out for themselves and wanting to take advantage of things. But I think we might have forgotten how to be kind in relationships, how to actually like people, getting to know people, the nitty gritty of what relationships are, being vulnerable. A lot of people are scared to be vulnerable. I feel like that itself should be a pandemic because you have a lot of people getting into relationships and they are getting in with a mindset of, okay, they've already planned it. This one is this one. And it's like, but it's a whole different human being. Like, you do know that you need to get to know them and like make decisions together and work it out together. And, but that's not the case. Everybody wants to be as individualistic. So I'll say dating wise, I don't think any progress has been made. I think it's getting worse. I don't know what the future is. I think eventually it will spin by. I think over time, people would start to realize that it's not working. And I listen to a lot of news saying that there's increasingly more single men and women. I would say this one thing though. I am really happy with how dating is turning out for women. A lot of women are finding themselves and taking ownership of their dating lives. A lot of women are
yeah,
saying no and saying they don't want situations where they have to just unduly sacrifice and they have to be the only one pouring into it. A lot of women are prioritizing themselves and their careers. And I think that's phenomenal and amazing. And I'm with it. So I think in terms of dating, that has been like the highlight. But other than that, finding love, finding love has been very hard. But in speaking to relationships with other people and like just friendships in general, I think that on the flip side is doing really well. A lot of people, especially women, I will speak a lot more to women because I'm a woman, we're women. And I think there's been a lot of sisterhood this year, both,
yeah,
on social media and even outside of that. A lot of women are banding together, coming together, being friends, prioritizing their friendships. Like you said, while, you were reading your letter, you and your friends and your girlfriends prioritize your friendship and pick things to do. So, and I think it might be the ripple effect of how dating is looking. I think, we're starting
correct.
to understand in this generation that maybe the loves of your life are your friends. Maybe they're just the people who have supported you, have been with you, or continue to be with you through all the heartbreaks and all the, chaos that happens in that space. Maybe that's what it is. And we're thriving in friendships. Friendships are thriving, and I love it for us. But yeah, let's hear how your end has been, because you've been agreeing with me. So let's we're in the same boat.
That was so spot on. And you know what? I just realized is like this podcast episode would definitely be longer than 45 minutes, but it's a fun one. It's a fun
Yes,
one because we're
yes.
unpacking. Huh, interesting. You were just so spot on because you hit the nail on the head. Where do I even begin? One, you talked about women prioritizing themselves more. And in my opinion, it's a function of what we're seeing outside. And as you get older, you stop giving time and energy and stop pouring into things that are not of value. Some people might perceive that as transactional because they're not used to hearing women say no, but they have to understand that when you pour into something for so long with so much of yourself, you get tired of that, and you want to see a return on investment. And if you're not seeing that, you pull out your capital. And so that's what a lot of women have done, even men to some degree with relationships, is like pulling out their capital and focusing on what's important, what they see would bring ROI. And I have a different opinion of how people approach relationships now. In some ways, I think like-minded people should meet each other. If it's a capitalist world, how about this? Let's focus on that capitalism and let's be self-serving. You bring your opinion to the table. You bring your resources to the table. I bring my resources to the table, your opinion to the table. Let's bring it out in the open and let's talk about it. Are we aligned? Because I think people fail to understand that love is not everything. You need to gain alignment. You need to be aligned on so many levels. Like, look at what I wrote. I wrote this thing and I sectioned it into personal, spiritual, fitness, health, mental, financial. These are all categories that you would have to work through when you're with a partner. And you need to be able to find alignment with whoever you're going to end up with. And when I'm dating, I emphasize the need for a partnership. It's not about, oh, how much you make, how much I make. It's like, I need to make sure that we're aligned in our thought processes, in our decision making. And if that happens to seem transactional, so be it. What works for me, not necessarily work for the other person. I think we need to get to that person, because people keep talking about this. What do you bring to the table conversation? Like, honestly, I personally don't even understand what people are so mad about on both sides of the aisle, to be honest.
You know what I think it is? You know what I think we should talk about this a little bit. And I think we should talk about it because I will even speak for you. You are a successful woman, single woman in corporate. And to be quite honest, a lot of successful women in corporate are facing the same issue or the same challenge, especially single women. They're all saying the same thing. We're all saying that somehow, somewhere, it just seems that you've explained it very well in terms of it should be transactional. And it makes a lot of sense. But in reality, men don't like that, interestingly.
No, you don't.
They don't. And I think men are very used to, and I think, to be quite honest, I don't blame them a lot, because I think they're used to what it used to be. They're used to women not having agency. Women having agency is so new to a lot of men. Women being able to find things for themselves and want, a good life and chase a good life with all of our chest, and not want to pause our lives for someone, or not want to, they're new to that. It's a new space. It's a new, so having those conversations sometimes is a bit difficult, because, no offense, and I'm not speaking about all men, but most men at the end of the day, what they can provide is the money. And the women have the money now. So it's like, okay, aside money, what else can you give me? I'm starting to realize that we don't have a lot to give. So it's been a harder conversation.
Disclaimer, we're not trying to bash men, and we're not trying to, it's not all men. We're not trying to bash men or even put men in a category or women in a category, but this is just part of adulting. We're at that age where like literally, if you open Instagram, this is almost everything that you see. It's about relationship. It's because a lot of people have matured into the stage where they're taking relationships seriously. And
Yes.
so that's just a big hot topic. And
Mm-hmm.
it will continue to be a hot topic for the
Yes.
next 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
And then the next generation is going to grow into that stage. And then for them, it would be the hot topic.
Something else. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
just,
as long as there's the relationship between man and women, like as long as we're all still getting married to each other, it would always be a hot topic. And yeah, agency is changing. We are, so it's a new space and people are adjusting to what this new, that's why I said 2024 feels like a new year. It almost feels like the start of a new generation because a lot of things are starting to, even in the conversations that you talk about on Instagram, it's a lot more women. It's a lot more women coming out to say, this is what we want. And we don't want this. We don't want that. We don't, what do you bring? Like, so it's
yeah,
women coming out now and speaking up and saying, this is what we want.
yeah,
We actually want things in relationship. We don't just want to be okay with what you want. And I think even for men, I think it's a good thing for men, to be honest, because I think men are now starting to kind of understand, okay, so I need to be a lot more than just someone who provides. I need to
correct.
have a personality. I need to emotional intelligence. I need to be, emotionally intelligent. I need to, listen. I need to. So men are now starting to, and they enjoy it, which is what I'm starting
Yes,
to even realize. They enjoy having personalities too and liking things and, doing things. And, so at the end of the day, it's a win-win. Like it's not a
it's a
against
win-win.
or
But
yeah, like, yeah.
what is it? God, there's a word for it. Something masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity will not let them breathe. That's the problem. It has a chokehold on
Yeah.
them,
Yes.
unfortunately. But because if a guy decides to be vulnerable, you see other guys say, he's a
You're being
simp,
sick.
and it's like, no, it's actually a healthy way to live. But that's besides the point. I don't want to belabor that because I don't want people to feel
I
like
agree.
this is
I
becoming a
agree.
relationship.
I agree.
But like again, it speaks to it because honestly, the way we feel with relationship at home, with home life, impacts a lot of what
Yes.
we bring to work.
Yes, it does.
Unfortunately,
Yes, it does.
it impacts it greatly,
Uh-huh.
and it impacts how we navigate life. So the next question I have is about navigating that pressure to
Mm.
succeed in life, in relationships and in your personal life
Mm.
simultaneously. There's so much pressure to be perfect and to be
Mm.
on your A game in every area of life. And if one part is missing, like I'll give you an example. At work, everybody on my team is either married or has children or married with children. And I'm literally the only single person on my team. And
Mm.
so for me, connecting with my colleagues is a bit difficult because they're either talking about, something their husband did, something their child did, something their husband said. And for them, they're able to connect on that level. When me, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't have a partner
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
home. I don't have
Mhm.
a pet. I'm just I'm just gallivanting through life, and so
Mm.
we have different perspectives, and that is challenging for me being able to connect even with colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So balancing that, but also being able to build a community, I think it creates a pressure.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. Excuse me. I think ultimately, you know, there was a conversation that started this year where, people were trying to talk about balancing, especially with working from home. And there were a lot of perspectives. There were some people who said, there's nothing like work-life balance, work and life kind of like the same. You just have to figure it out. And I listened to a lot of that. And I think ultimately they are separate, but there's a bridge because you're one person and as you are present in your personal, you're also present in your work. So you can't exactly separate both. They would influence one another. And just like the example you've given to where, you want to connect, but it just seems, I think same on my end in the sense that even though most of the people I worked with were not necessarily married and didn't have kids, but I'm a kind of person who is very self and career like driven and wanting to do all of that. And as a woman, you have a lot of younger other women, wanting to get married, down, talking about relationships and places they want to go to meet this person and that person. And you are all about like work, And, what are you doing? Where are you traveling to next? Oh, I'm trying to travel the world. They're looking at you like, aren't you 20 something? Like, aren't you trying to get married? And, and you're like, yes, but I still want to live my life.
Yeah.
And so the conversations become a bit weird because they are talking
Stifled.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're like traveling and they're like, I'm not trying to. I think at the end of the day, it's finding your own people and your own crew. I think that's one of the beautiful things of friendship. And I think that's where, relationships and friendships kind of come into the space where, and community as well, which is one thing where
Yeah.
we have built and we're managing, to put together and do at the 9 to 5 blueprints where we're bringing people that are very like-minded to come together. And this is the instances where community comes in, because this is the whole point of community. The idea of community is finding people that you share things with, that you can connect with. And you can have as many communities as possible. You're not limited to one. You can have communities for career. You can have communities for your hobby. You have different friends for different things, different communities for different, things. You have your workout community. And I think if you do that, it would feel less of a pressure because you don't feel the need to be everything to everybody. Like, that I can be here to this person. I can show up like this and show up like this and show up like that. I think if you're
Wow.
able to do it that way, you would not be insane. Because if not, you would end up driving yourself insane because it's a lot of pressure.
You hit the nail on the coffin, to be honest, because that's literally what I do. I compartmentalize so much. It's actually pretty crazy. My cousin says to me, like, I don't even know how you can be so much to so many people. And one thing that I tell her is, for me, when I'm with a friend or a group of friends, I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
100% present.
Yeah.
But the downside to that is I'm unplugged from everything else. So if I travel, I'm sure you would have noticed this when I'm on a trip and you message me. My texts are like, okay,
Yeah.
got it, do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not interested in
Yes.
engaging
Yes.
or being distracted or removed from what I'm giving my time to presently. Because of that, a lot of the relationships that I have cultivated over the years are quite healthy and very deeply connected, which is odd because I probably don't see people that often. But when we're together, we're together. Everybody else is in the background. When I'm traveling, I tend not to have long conversations with my friends back home because it's like you have me every other time. And I only have these 5 days or 10 days with these people. And so I'm going to be there. And when I'm in my aerial class, I have a strong community in aerial. Even my colleagues know not to try to have happy hours on Tuesdays because that's my aerial day. When I'm there, I'm connecting with my class people. We've become so close that we've built a community around that. But we don't even hang out outside of aerial. And we've not even tried to. But when we're there together. We're trying new tricks. We're learning things. So I've learned to compartmentalize, and that works for me. It doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. I've learned what works for me to be able to build meaningful relationships with people and build intentional communities. And I have so many subsectors of communities. Like I literally have people watching the podcast from India. And it's so crazy that to be able to say, okay, yes, I'm being intentional about relationship building, about navigating the pressure of
Yeah.
social life, career life, while trying to create a balance. And I
Yeah.
wanted to make a point about work-life balance. Work-life balance is a myth. Life bleeds into work, and work
Yes.
bleeds into life.
Yes.
Many a times I'm about to get into bed at like 11 p.m. and I'm thinking about an email that I need to send, and I just pick
All the
up
time.
my phone and I email my work email just so that it's at the top of my inbox. Or, oh, I forgot to do things. Or I'm working on a project and I've been like stuck and I suddenly get an idea in the middle of something. And I'm like, okay, let me quickly type this up in notes and email it to myself or like edit the file or do something. Like so many times I've had to do that with work. And it's not to say when I'm at work, I don't get personal emails that I have to respond to. Like I've had to respond to personal emails at work, or I've had to take personal calls at work. Like work bleeds into life and life bleeds into work. And it's just in the way that we try to manage it. It's not letting one overpower the other and trying to create an equilibrium. Sometimes one will be 60%, 40%, sometimes it'll be 70%, 30. It would ebb and flow as long as you're getting your work done, as long as you're fulfilling your duties and responsibility. I want to touch on two last things. It's about social media because we talked about social media earlier. So touching back into social media, and the influence of it on the perception of adulthood. I feel like social media has greatly contributed to comparison. And
Yes.
you know how they say comparison is a thief of joy. When you see your age, somebody in your age group, some of your classmates doing this, or like somebody that you knew and you entered into the workforce around the same time or making it, you start to compare and you're like, am I doing enough? Or am I failing? You
Yes.
know, like what are your thoughts on how people should manage that? Like, because the way I manage it is just like I'm only in competition with myself.
Free.
I am not competing against any other person.
Yes.
I only know where I was last year and I know where I am this year. And I know I won't be here next
Next
year.
year. Yes. Yes.
And so because of that, I see people, I rejoice with them. I'm like, I love that for you
Yes.
because I genuinely love that for you. If that makes you happy, I am happy for you. If that makes you sad, too bad. What can we do about it? Or what do you want to do about it? But I refuse to let other people's decisions dictate my life and how I feel about myself. And I think a lot of people need to take a page from that book. And that's not to say I'm perfect. Sometimes I think about it, you're pushing 32 and there's no prospects in sight. When are we going to have these kids that you want, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely think about it every now and then, but at the same time, what I say to myself is that actually you're doing fine all by yourself. Are you truly, truly ready for that additional responsibility? Are you truly ready for the added pressure? When you're married, you're not just dealing with yourself, you're dealing with your spouse, you're dealing with children, you're dealing with in-laws, you're dealing with all these additional relationships that you have to navigate. You have to balance all of that with work and everything that we're already dealing with. And so because of that, I'm not in a hurry to be stressed.
That's the word. That's the word for this year. And I think I'll first speak to the getting married and the comparison of that. I think one thing that is showing up in this generation that we're starting to understand is that marriage isn't all the things that movies make it seem. Marriage is a big deal. It's a lifelong thing for those that intend to do it that way. It's a commitment that takes everything. When you have kids, it's no longer about you. Like your life has changed completely and you are a completely new person and different person. And if you listen to a lot of older people that talk about marriage, quite a number of them will say, take your time before you do it, because this is a lifelong commitment. This is not something you jump into because everybody's doing it. This is something that you have to be sure that you are ready, especially kids. You have to be really sure that you're ready to start having kids.
And that you
can
want
train. Yes. So I think with that being said, I completely 1000% agree with you in terms of you are the only person you're competing with. It's unfortunate that social media has kind of changed from just being a place where we all connected and had fun to now being a place where everybody's comparing themselves to everyone. And it's really doing a lot of damage. There's been a lot of cases of depression and anxiety, and a lot of younger people are starting to have autoimmune diseases and diseases that we normally wouldn't even, have or know about. And it's all because everybody's under some kind of pressure. I hate to say this, but the idea of being an influencer, which is something that social media has brought, is driving a lot of young people crazy. And they're doing ridiculous things. And I think the best way to help, especially if we're talking to much younger people, is you can curate your social media. Just understand that you can actually curate it to see what you want to see. And that's what I think has really helped me. I have curated every single platform that I am on to be exactly what I want it to be. And immediately I see something that doesn't align with what I'm at, I am muting, I'm blocking, I'm unfollowing, I'm doing whatever it needs to do to get it out of my space. So I think if you find a way to curate your social media to give you what you need to motivate yourself, to get inspired from, you will just find out that you're consuming a lot of good stuff. And I think is why sometimes when I hear a lot of young people saying, I had to delete Instagram, I find it weird because I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to do that because I have curated my Instagram. That's where I get a lot of information from. Because I'm in the media space. So I use it for work. I use it to learn a lot of things. I use it to, see things, check things, see how well this was created, see how well that was done. So I've curated it in a way where it teaches me rather than, putting me in a place where I am depressed or I'm comparing myself. But I would say comparison is a thing. And I would say that, like you said it all. It's your journey. Whoever it is that's quote unquote doing better than you, because that's what you think. Sometimes it looks like it. I promise you, social media can be the most unreal platform in the world. People make the most unreal things real. You will be shocked at how much faking people do on social media. It is insane how much faking people do with their lives, especially with their lives. Like they would portray their lives to be completely different from the reality. So trust me, social media is not what you think. It's not all glam. It's not all great. The last thing you want to do is compare yourself to anyone on social media. If you want to compare yourself, look at reality. And reality is that everybody is doing the best that they can. Everybody's figuring it out. Everybody's trying to get to one place somewhere. We are all trying to make something of ourselves. We're all winging it. We're all trying to make sense of it. So you are in competition with yourself, like you said. But yeah, I think that's what I would say in how to deal with it, to be honest.
I mean, we can end the episode now. Because, I wanted to talk about managing the constant stream of information. We've handled it. Curate your social media, curate the information you get. Look, this one baby cooking page that I follow, like, I appreciate it. It's so innocent. I watch kitten videos. I post on my Insta story too much. I don't even take myself seriously. Anybody that's on my social media knows I'm just there for vibes. And that's, and so I think a lot of people need to, strip back the posing.
Yes, please.
I mean, obviously, there's a place for branding, there's a place for curating, but there's also a place for authenticity to thrive.
Yes.
And I think people need to do that and focus more on that. Yes, there's always going to be a stream of information. Social media is not the devil. It's how you consume it that matters.
Oh my God, like you literally took that because obviously as we're preparing for this, I saw that question and I was trying to think about it. And it's a conversation that has been happening where a lot of people are saying social media is a problem. We need to ban this, cut back on that, do. And I was thinking about it today and I was like, I don't think so. Like I don't have the same experience. I enjoy social media. If you use it the way you're supposed to, you would enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let it rule your life. There's ways to prioritize your mental health. But again, if you feel like it's really disturbing you, go to therapy, unpack it. And I know that's coming from a place of privilege. Not a lot of people can afford it. Build a community. Have friends that you can unpack with. I literally have one of my best friends. When she and I talk, we unpack. We do the 5 whys. We try to get the cause. I work in continuous improvement. So like, I don't want to just focus on the surface levels of what I think the problem is. I want to focus greatly on what the true problem is. And I think I definitely, I've been able to do that.
You know what I think? You know what I think we should do? If you agree, please put it in the comments. I think you should have an episode with one of your girlfriends. And I think there needs to be an episode that talks through friendships. And I'm being very serious because I think people need to understand how to do friendships. And literally, I don't think we talk about what happens in friendships. I think people just leave it to this mysterious, oh, this person is just my friend and friendship is just but I think there's actually a way to do friendship, like to do it in a way that benefits you and you get the best out of it. If any of your girlfriends are available to hop on one of these episodes and you guys can talk through how you're able, not the intentionality, the work that goes into, because we need that. I'm being very honest, literally stripping back, okay, this is what it looks like. These are the kind of conversations that we have. These are the, so people understand just how much goes into, if you want to get a lot from your friendship. And guys, please, put it in the comments, say yes, so that we know that this is an episode that we need to work on, because I want it. So if you want to meet me, please.
You're in charge of the production calendar, so we can definitely add it for maybe we can use that as to start season 2 to break open
Nice.
season 2. There's definitely 2 people that I have in mind that
Awesome.
definitely would be awesome. And it's funny because like we together talked about doing a podcast about navigating relationships,
Nice.
but we're all so busy that it's so hard to find the time like to record it. But with me now starting this podcast, I think we can definitely accommodate such topics every now and then. Because part of thriving in 9 to 5 and everything in between is having the right community around you that would help you thrive. I want to talk lastly about focus for 2025, high level, because oh my God, we've overshot the time, but I'm enjoying the conversation. So high level focus for 2025. I haven't begun to really, I haven't sat down to really think about what my 2025 would look like from the travel point of view. I know some of the trips I want to take in 2025. That's pretty much set in stone. In fact, my PTO is gone as of today because of all the trips that I have lined up. Work wise, TBD, still trying to figure it out what that focus is going to look like. Obviously, with the 9 to 5 blueprint and the podcasts, season 2 would definitely be more impactful than season 1 has been so far. I'm sure on the personal front, still continue developing an intentional relationship with my friends, my relationships, the ones that are present, that are here with me now, instead of putting my time and energy into thinking about like this future relation that's going to materialize at some point. That PMP, I'm definitely going to add it back into 2025. Knock on wood. I still have to sit down and think about it intentionally, write another letter to myself, but we'll see. What about you?
We're aligned on a lot of things in terms of I'm also really excited for next year. I've started taking traveling seriously. So I spent most of this year planning to travel, and it's something I've been wanting to do for like a really long time. And I feel like I'm slowly getting into that space where I can, both financially and also, balancing it with work. And there's an opportunity that I'm hoping comes through. And if it does, then it should be what opens the door next year into venturing out and, starting that whole process and doing that. So that's a huge thing for me for 2025. I think also keying into a lot of the things that you said in terms of relationships. One of the major things that I took from 2024 is building relationships and also learning how to compartmentalize them. Like I said, I'm literally taking a lot of pages from your book. I'm not even joking, but I'm taking a lot of pages from your book next year. And, that's one of them. One of them is compartmentalizing my relationships with people and communities, and just like having different communities for the different areas of my life and seeing how that thrives. I think, speaking of community, another thing that has really helped me this year in terms of community is understanding how networking kind of works, especially career networking. You hear a lot of, attend events, speak to people, but I think people also don't understand that you can network career-wise, even in non-professional settings. In that book club, you can meet a lot of people in your field, in that pottery class, in that dance class, in your yoga class. You don't know where you meet people that you can connect with that are in the same field with you, are in, maybe even in a completely different industry, but somehow aligns with your role and can help.
Yeah.
So I think I found that a lot this year. I got into an art community and met a lot of people, a lot of artists, and eventually got to work with them, which was something I never thought would happen this year. It was so left field and so wild, but it was amazing. And seeing that just made me realize, okay, maybe I should focus more on building communities outside of just wanting to network professionally and, join more reading clubs, pottery making clubs, cycling clubs, running clubs, get to meet people that way and connect with people that way. It's so much easier to have conversations about anything when you're drinking a glass of wine and making something beautiful. Rather than you being all suited up with coffee and you're so anxious because you're trying to talk to 5 people and it's networking and, so I want to do a lot more of that, do a lot more of that next year. Settling in and prioritizing self and, spending more time with myself, growing. Also, keeping fingers crossed, we'll take that professional course. I've actually seen the one I want to take, and I've already started preparing myself to get into it. Finally, fitness. I think I might be hacking it a little bit. I have been keeping a streak
Yeah.
since the beginning of this month, and I'm so proud of myself. And I'm hoping that, if I'm able to complete this month, it will do something for me. So that has also been something that I want to prioritize a lot next year in terms of like just health. And, the older you get, especially as a woman, the more you have to get like very intentional about your health and not just like working out and looking good, but like actually like health wise and like what's going on and your body and your hormones. So I really, really want to do a lot of deep diving into that next year and like just checking out my body and what's going on there. But yeah, that's the plan overview.
I love that we're definitely future focused and already thinking ahead as far as like continuity of some of the successes we've had in 2024 and, building on that for 2025. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Yemi. Really, really appreciated this conversation. It's been amazing. Couldn't have scripted it better. Even though it was unscripted, I literally sent the order like last night, but I knew it would flow because we're both aligned and you know what I was going for. I hope that people are able to learn from some of the things that we've shared or that it even resonates with them and affirms some of the things that they already know. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd say that this podcast has been one of the highlights of my year. If I haven't mentioned, it's been amazing. We've been wanting to do this for so long. I'm so glad that we did it. I'm so excited about it. The reception has been really great. So I think subscribe and put on your post notifications because you need to know when the episodes drop. I have the privilege to listen to anyone else, and I take that as a privilege. Like I literally call it a privilege because I get to just listen, and I'm a huge podcast person, so it's amazing to listen to the conversations and hear the quality of the kind of conversation, and how they touch and everything. So yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And to the listeners, I encourage you to be the architect of your own journey, draw your own path, carve your own path. You can definitely do it. You will find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and the visual will be available on YouTube for you to watch the recording, subscribe to our social media platforms at The 9 to 5 Blueprint, and follow the website www.the9to5blueprint.com for more information about everything The 9 to 5 Blueprint and everything about the podcast. So see you on the next one and have a fantastic holiday season and a happy new year.